now a part of the legal. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Okay, we're live now. My bad. I thought we was live the whole time. That's funny. Good afternoon, guys. I think that might just be showing me my Facebook Live meter. I'm not real sure. So, all right. Mom, are you coming over here? Oh, she's got to find her eyeballs just to see. You can support me by stars. Make sure that you are following WTHC Radio online on YouTube. Like and subscribe, please. You can also find me at Dabbing Nana 78. Hey, Tony's 420 tour. That's my Anthony buddy in OKC. So you can find me on Dabbing Nana 78 on all platforms. And Mom, what's your social media platform? Do you have a page? Do you want to share it?
No, not really.
Okay, you don't have to. It's okay. So look at this beautiful creature. This is my mommy. So I'm the one that made her a mom. So yeah. So Mom, I was telling them when you were outside letting Ellie Monster outside. That's Ellie Monster. I was telling them that cannabis is it's been a part of my life, my whole life. Through you know, before it was something that I was consuming. And, back in the days of cannabis prohibition, there was quite big stigmas.
Yeah.
And you've come from that era of stigma and prohibition into now legalization.
I'm still shocked.
And into working in the industry itself.
I do.
So tell us a little bit maybe about how it used to be, or if you want to, you don't have to, or how
you were always afraid you were going to jail.
Always afraid you were going to jail.
Always afraid you were going to jail. Always afraid that it was going to be something that could take your kids away from you.
Mm-hmm.
They could ruin you financially. You'd lose everything you had just for probably a few joints.
Right.
A quarter ounce of weed would get you 5 years sometimes.
Oh, wow.
So
that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. 5 years for 5 joints. Oh, wait.
A lot.
No, I don't want to. Oh, Ellie, you just bonked the hell out of your head, dog. She does that all the time. So how long have you been working in the legal industry?
In cannabis?
Mm-hmm.
I've been back in it consistently a little over 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I started out in the business at this place I am now, just doing reception and stuff like that. So this is my first time as a bud tender, as somebody in the industry. It's fascinating. It is way more than I could have ever imagined just smoking pot was.
Right.
But I think it's something that was always used medicinally and for me.
Well, and I've seen you take the plant and make many forms of medicine out of it.
Mm-hmm.
My bonus dad, he passed away about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever he was given his, diagnosis and what was wrong with him and those types of things, Mom went to work, not to work for somebody, but she went to work for him. And she, was able to get it, simplified down to that White Widow simply made of the best medicines for him.
It did. It made a
and a
difference in
variety.
his day and whether or not he was in pain or whether or not he felt hungry. It was something that helped him in a lot of forms.
Yeah.
So, and having that availability, even when your grandmother passed away, I had the legal use of cannabis.
Oh my gosh,
I could have had
so
many more forms.
Yes.
Would have been a great, and any hospice patient should automatically be allowed access to cannabis and their choices for that.
I seen a deal recently in Rhode Island, I think it is, where they're starting to try to do not a hospice care center, but an adult nursing facility where cannabis would be able to be used there.
Is that the one I sent you?
I don't know. It might have been.
Yeah.
So, it's not that they can light it up and smoke it, toke it, but they could consume edibles or oils and tinctures and things like that. They could use salves and, that type of products.
Right.
And that's really cool. Charles and I talk a lot about when we get to that age of being put into the old folks home, like how are we going to go to the old folks home if we can't smoke our weed? You know what I mean?
I'm not going. To
We're not going.
I'm not going.
And so, the biggest reason why that's not an option right now, of course, is because of federal legalization,
Right.
And the fact that our insurance companies don't cover this medicine, right?
Right. But I'm 68, almost 69 come January, and I have used cannabis 45 years.
Mm-hmm. All my life, I told you.
And I can't imagine my life without it.
Oh, I can't either.
Sanity-wise and just my body. I don't have the same health issues that most of my peers have, and even some folks younger than me. And I still work a 50, 60-hour week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you do. It's like she runs freaking circles around people. We have an event here in Oklahoma, one of the many events in Oklahoma, and it's called Cowboy Cup, and they give away Cowboy Cash at their event, and she is responsible for getting all of that Cowboy Cash processed into the orders, and the orders getting filled to the patients and stuff like that. So she does a lot at her dispo. She really does. If you've ever been in, you know who she is. Mimi's her name and Bud is her game. So
I just want to be able to always try to offer the best choices of plant medicine for those who use it so that it can safely get to them. I want it to be tested. I want it to be regulated. I want it to be truly medicine. I want it to be thought of no differently than if you were walking into Walgreens.
Right. I mean, that's what we're in as a medical market. I mean, I know we've got a recreational petition coming in the pikes and stuff and in the works right now. But truly, right now we are 100% medical in our state, which in a medical facility, like you don't go into a big pharma lab and, have people handling medicine without gloves on and things like that, right? You could go into a cannabis processing center and, some places may be processing it correctly and some may not be, as far as cleanliness, hygienic, things like that. That's what we talked with Harvard Labs about recently, was about the microbial fills in like pre-rolls, and it's because a lot of times they're not washing their hands in between things, or there's not a cleanly environment, or a lot of different things.
If you think about how someone would handle your food in a restaurant, that's the same way you want them to handle your cannabis in this industry.
Absolutely. 100%.
Wear your gloves.
Or more.
Be credentialed. Take some classes. Don't be afraid to learn something new. Lord, be the computer's the worst thing for me, but I'm getting there. But it's truly an industry that is still a Wild West.
Oh my gosh, it was in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It is there. Yeah, very much so, the Wild West.
I think even the state of California has been dealing with cannabis, 20 years?
20 years, but they didn't start doing like testing in the state of California until like 2018.
So
which
that's
is crazy.
7 years.
Yeah, the same year that we legalized was the same year they started implementing testing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But testing is what's going to help folks be able to know that their medicine is clean and safe to use.
Absolutely. And that's a big deal, obviously with Patients for Safe Access, that's our biggest deal, is having the access to clean, safe medicine.
Right.
Right. So I'm glad you said it that way too. Not that she hasn't heard it a million times from me or Charles.
If you don't want to eat tomatoes with pesticide all over it, then you don't want to smoke medicine that has pesticide all over it, because you yourself know what can happen. I mean, there's been some health issues that came up with you that were really bad.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have learned our lessons to be our own advocates for making for sure that it is good, clean medicine.
And in this process of advocating for clean medicine, there have been people that have become my friends, and there have people that have become my foes, and
everybody has a right to their own opinion, though.
Right. But unless you're walking in my shoes, doing the work that I'm doing, and, walking beside me and, either learning about it and supporting it, or learning about it and making a decision that you don't want to support it, you can't really make that.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like,
Online trolls.
I get you, but it's kind of like saying, well, don't be pissed off at me because I sin differently than you.
Right.
So,
Right.
pretty much you do you, I'll do me.
So they have another lady that does a podcast on here too, and her name is Granny Cannabis, and she does an episode on Mondays called Medical Mondays with Granny.
Yeah.
And man, I think it'd be fun to have like me, you, and her on a show together because it would be very hilarious. I think we would have jokes. What?
Well, I just know that it's made a big difference in my stress factor to know that you have tested so many products in this industry. And you haven't just tested just cannabis. You're an equal opportunity pain in the ass.
I am an equal opportunity pain in the ass.
That's who you are, and that's what you do. And you're really good at it. And I'm really proud of you for that.
Oh, thanks, Mom.
So, and happy Mother's Day, kid.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Thank you. It just, if you would do it for your child, then do it for somebody else's child. Do it for somebody else's mom, somebody else's sister, somebody else's dad. Our veterans are affected by this every day. The fact that they can't hardly get hold of their medicine or afford it. And by medicine, I'm speaking cannabis.
Yeah.
But, everybody struggles with their own problems. But if you can help a vet, then do so.
Well, speaking of that, we'll pick back up on that after the break because I know that we have a short commercial and a song for the 420. And then we will be back with my mom and we will keep this going since we started a little late, especially.
Every single day, 22 veterans take their own lives. Yesterday it happened. It'll happen again today and tomorrow, unless we do something. Operation Heal is on a mission to stop the pain, the death, and the heartbreak through the only thing that has actually worked for PTSD and chronic pain, cannabis. For far too many of our heroes, healing isn't an option. They're stuck in illegal states, living on a salary of $1,700 a month or less, denied natural medicine by the VA and force-fed pills instead. That's where Operation Heal comes in. Since 2023, they've built a nationwide underground network of cannabis caregivers and connections getting veterans the plant medicine they need at zero cost when money's tight. Now they're going even bigger. VetStock is coming, a powerful event where veterans will come together to convert a school bus into a home for a fellow vet who sleeps on the streets every night. You can sign up for canna cooking classes, grab some awesome merch, and make a donation that directly saves lives. Go to Operation Heal, HEEL, and click to help our vets, to get involved, and help us bring plant healing to those who fought for us. This is for the people, by the people. No red tape, no politics, just action. Because the government hasn't just abandoned our vets, they've abandoned all of us. Operation Heal. We don't stop until they stop dying. Join the movement. Donate, share, and heal.
State Beat Studio.
Hello, my name is Rich Regal, and we just legalized marijuana in the great state of Ohio, and I figured why not write a song to that beautiful plant. I'm looking for the light, just wanna get high, so high, and my mouth is so damn dry, 'cause I'm high as the sky, so high, and I'm looking for the light, just wanna get high, so high, I'm high. Grab the papers in the bong yeah, we ain't never smoking brown. Pack of gummies in my mouth. I ain't never coming down. Trying to get so damn high that I can never touch the ground. And we do it like this. No seeds, no sticks. Boogie over there lighting up another damn split. So I grab it on up and put it to my lips like this. I'm looking for the light. Just wanna get high. So and my mouth is so damn dry. 'Cause I'm high as the sky. So and I'm looking for the light. Just wanna get high. So I'm high.
Welcome back to this Mother's Day episode of Canna Grandmas.
There you go.
So, speaking of being a grandma, how many grandkids you got?
How many grandkids do I have?
Yeah.
7,
And like great grands?
5,
Yeah, she's getting up
6.
there.
something like that, 5 or 6.
I'm a double grandma. I have my 7-year-old granddaughter and my 1-year-old grandson. And that's just like, I'm like, okay, we're good with 2. We can stop there. Luckily, my one won't have any
7.
more. So, but before we went to break, we were getting ready to talk about veterans and stuff like that. So you were talking to me about cannabis with veterans, and I'm sure that you handle a lot of cannabis patients, at your store that are veterans.
I've heard
And
a lot of stories about how cannabis has saved their life, or how cannabis is the reason that they're still here, because certain strains are really, really good for the PTSD and really good for the high anxiety. I see folks every day that deal with extreme panic and anxiety, and it's really hard to watch because they don't know how to deal with it. And once you help them find the right plant, then it's a whole new world for them. It's a whole new world.
So that's interesting, because that's kind of why we paired up with James, our buddy with that Project 22, the We're at Home program.
Right.
And I found out after becoming involved with that program that most veterans actually prefer not to have a sativa because of the effects it gives to them that aren't beneficial, as beneficial as indica.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Some folks, the sativa will help bring them out of an extreme panic attack, but not be good for their anxiety. So it's kind of an up and down game for them. If it's more about that strain. Green crack is one of the best ones, I think, for anxiety. It's a sativa, but it's a low sativa, where the most favored one right now, I think, my favorite at the shop is Pice Cream, and that's a heavy indica. But it's something that most folks really, really love.
So she was telling me about this Pice Cream earlier on the phone, because I was asking her what her best top shelf strain was at her location. And you were telling me about this Pice Cream. So what was the numbers on it again?
It's like a 31% THC, and the terpenes are like a 4.5.
And what is it? Is it indica dominant leaning?
It is.
Gotcha.
It is.
Okay. All right.
And I'm not mentioning where I work at, because I don't do that. I'm not out here to plug my shop. So
right.
I'm just here to speak for the patients.
Yes. Absolutely. So she's a supporter.
I am a supporter.
So,
I've watched you go through a lot, and this is really something.
I remember a couple of years ago when I went to the Capitol for the first time, and I had went with a team of other people. We'll just say that, and you were just so proud of that moment, of going to the Capitol and advocating for our industry and for our patients. And I don't know.
Standing up and speaking for folks is something that you've always been big about. I just never dreamed it would be the industry that I loved. So,
True that.
yeah.
You know, and often when Charles and I are talking, I think back to the acts of service that I have given in the past that I guess because I'm me, because of how you raised me, I don't look at those things as being like acts of service and volunteerism and stuff like that. But, you know, ultimately when I look back, I've been advocating for somebody or someone since I was like 16.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it came naturally, you know.
Do good, do better.
Do good, do better. That's right. We got to do better.
Yeah. And if you can't, then keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, for sure.
So what is it I tell you all the time? An ounce of keeping your mouth shut is worth a pound of wish I hadn't said that.
Yeah, that one. No, usually what I was being raised with was this does not constitute an emergency on my behalf.
Your lack of planning
does not constitute an emergency on my behalf.
Yes.
That meant if I didn't plan in advance and I just expected her to run and save my ass, I was going to have to listen to that.
And every mother out there can appreciate that saying.
I mean, big time. I actually said it to my youngest, maybe 6 months ago. You fell out of my mouth, and I was like, well, okay, damn, there's that one.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. It happens.
To the best of us. I'm sure I hear my
us.
mother's words come out of my mouth. So.
So, you know, I mean, we have like tons of friends and family that are all cannabis consumers. You know, we have several different people that have tried it in the past that maybe don't, you know, still currently consume, like my oldest, you know.
Right.
But I think through time, you know, we've definitely been through the different pieces of the industry as well, you know, from the dispensary side of it to, you know, you're involved in a processing side of things. And then the, you know,
I just like to be the patient side of it.
I like being the patient too.
I like.
Hey, Katie.
And I am exclusive to one brand, and I will not say that brand. And so I love my marijuana. I love growing marijuana. I love smoking marijuana. I love the taste of marijuana. I love the way it makes my body feel. It keeps me level and not stupid.
And just so you guys know, like, yes, the brand she's talking about that she's brand exclusive to, I have tested their products in the past, and they did pass for pesticides and heavy metals, because when she says she's exclusive, like, this is literally the brand she smokes from the point she wakes up to the point she goes to bed every night, 7 days a week. And so I was like a little hesitant testing it because it is a distillate infused product, and so I was a little concerned originally that, you know, maybe it wouldn't pass, but it did. So I was super happy for that, because I don't think I would have wanted to call that owner and say anything, you know, if it had been bad. But
we are 100% good to go.
Yeah. And it's funny now because a few weeks ago I actually met the owner of that company out in the wild. We were go-karting and I met him out in the wild. And so it was interesting because I actually informed them of your extreme support to their company.
That's a good way to put it, Summer. That's a good way to put it.
I was like, y'all won't lose this account ever, I promise.
Not till they put me in the ground.
Hey now, Heifer. Oh man. So let's see. What's next? Charlie, what have you got next for us? Anything here?
We need to talk about living soil again, and with White Widow that she grew for years to.
White Widow is probably one of the most medicinal plants.
So speaking of all the different things that you made from White Widow, like, tell me, because I can remember when there was a company that came out with like a pain patch on the market, and it was an infused pain patch, and you were like, oh hell, I can make these. You know what I mean? And
I was not
like,
successful.
Okay. Yes,
I was not successful.
Yes, you were. You did the Gauze Pad project.
Yeah, but that was kind of cheesy.
It worked though.
Well, but it still was cheesy.
It doesn't matter if it's cheesy. Shit works.
Yeah, well, not everybody wants it that way.
Well, Chester, cheater. No,
Well-
I can go away with his cheating.
I'm not in that part of it. I like
No.
being able to work with the patients.
Yeah,
So it's for sure gratifying to know that you can help somebody by finding a strain that is really the one that helps them.
absolutely. Absolutely.
That's where it's at.
Let's see. Crystal says, just tuning in. Who is the guest again? Crystal, this is my mommy.
Nice to meet you.
So she's who introduced me to Canna in the first place, and no, not in the womb, but shortly after.
Actually, the first time that you were introduced to it, it didn't go well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are you talking about when I did that, or
Mhm.
when like exposed to it in the household?
Oh no.
No, my situation.
Yeah, that didn't go well at all. So,
Yeah, we won't talk about that one.
but it took. I don't know how much I can say on here.
You
but
can say pretty much a lot.
It took until you came clean off of
The opiates.
your opioids
Mhm.
that you appreciated where cannabis could be in your life.
Absolutely. 100%. I mean, I took like a 15-year hiatus when I got married the second time. My husband at the time, when we got together, we were both Canna friendly. But during our marriage, we took Canna out of the equation. You know what I'm saying? Just because he was in a safety sector industry type of a job, and it was still illegal here in our state.
Mhm.
So it wasn't something that he could do and still be working there.
Yeah, it didn't become legal till the year you became a
Right.
grandmother. So
And so, I took that hiatus from that. And after my marriage with him ended, was when my opioid addiction began. And so it was a long process, a very long process.
I'm just glad that it was there available and it was what it was supposed to be. You're
Yeah.
living proof that they can come clean off of it with cannabis.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
100%.
Now, don't get me wrong. This one, oh man, she could just suck the end out of anything that was dabbing. But you have to meet that high. You have to meet that high
Mhm.
that they're getting from the other drugs
Mhm.
so that they can learn to come down off of that.
Absolutely. So, whenever I quit the opioids at first, I was 6 months, or 6 months or so without any type of substance other than the pharmaceutical drugs that they sent me out of rehab with. You know what I mean?
And that wasn't doing you no front, no good.
No, it really wasn't. And so at one point or another, I had went to like my NA class, and I was supposed to get my next tag, and I had testified during the meeting that day.
Mhm.
And I had testified that I had consumed cannabis. And they literally, when I went up there to get my chip coin, whatever you want to call it, tag, I got handed a just for today one. And I was like, what's up? Why am I starting back at day one? And they were like, oh, well, you admitted that you took an intoxicating substance. And I'm like, hold up. Up. And I'm not going to say that all on here,
Right.
but I lost my shit literally at this meeting. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me that these doctors can prescribe these people Xanaxes and Valiums and everything else, and they can come into this meeting stoned off their ass with that. But when I come in the door and tell you that I used some plant medicine and I smoked a joint today, you're going to tell me just for today? I was like, cool.
That's like
boo.
they take them out of rehab and they have them on Suboxone.
And that's what they had me on in the
and stuff.
beginning.
And so, and that's the next drug that
Right.
most
It's
folks
like
are
the next
hooked on.
methadone.
Yeah,
Methadone
exactly.
was supposed to keep everybody off
Right.
of stuff.
Right.
And you have people out there that are literally have to take methadone for the rest of their lives.
Or they've
because
overdosed
of
on
it, right? Or they've overdosed.
Right.
And then the Suboxone era came out, and
There has not been one single person, not ever to the day right now, that has ever died because of cannabis. They have not overdosed on cannabis.
right from the plant itself.
From the plant
Right.
itself. That's right.
I would agree with that.
And because it doesn't even touch the same receptors.
Mm-mm.
It
Let's
doesn't
talk
tell
about
you.
cannabis hyperemesis.
It doesn't
being
help you. It doesn't help
toxic.
you. It doesn't touch the same receptors, so you're not feeling like you can't breathe.
Yeah.
Your body's not telling you to breathe.
So
The only thing that I've heard folks say, and you have had your experience with this, and how do you say that word? Hyper what?
hyperemesis.
Yes. Yes.
So really quick before we touch on the hyperemesis, you were saying something about the amount of dabs that I would intake.
Yeah.
And so when I realized that I was going to have to come off that Suboxone medicine as well that they had given me, then I started into dabs like right away. And I went from being damn near a virgin cannabis user to straight dab consumer overnight.
Yep.
And she's
and
right.
Multiple containers of it.
14 grams of this stuff had to be there because I needed all 14 of them strains for something, you know.
But at that time, you know, you also had some medical issues going on. You got that all straight. So that, along with cannabis, has really made a big difference in your life and how you handle the world.
Oh, absolutely. No, I do not want to have to go without cannabis. And so when I did get diagnosed with cannabis hyperemesis and I had to quit smoking for a little bit, I was like, whoa, you know, like I realized how much my medicine helps me even more, just that little break.
Okay, so remember when we left Tulsa, you were probably in first grade and we moved to Houston. And so remember, let's see, by the time you were in the third grade, Mom was much better. Mom had met friends who had weed. So just goes to show you.
Just saying. So, yes. So Charles put a comment on here and it says, cannabis hyperemesis, I think, is from the heavy metals and pesticides, acute and toxic chronological exposure.
I agree.
And absolutely, I agree. And we actually have Katie Tripp on here right now. She's watching as well. And she's one of our Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority Executive Advisory Council members.
Okay.
So she's a nurse, though, you know, and so she's got some background. And I've actually talked with her about CHS and stuff as well. And let's see, hang on. Let's go Houston. Someone says Seabrook, Texas.
Woo,
here,
Seabrook.
southeast of Houston. Let's go. So if you know where Stinkadena is, that's one of the places we lived. Let's see, go through here real quick and see. Crystal Smotherman is watching. Thank you. Miles says Happy Mother's Day. Thank you. Anthony says hello. Charles says Mimi's the OG of weed.
That's just because I'm older than him.
Hey, you know what? He is not far from getting that AARP Senior Living Center discount.
It's not near as good as the one you can get through your insurance, and I'll tell you later who they are.
Rabbit Jam Industries. Yes, Seth is in the house in here too. So
I love my old people discount.
Hippie says, I got my 25-year sober thingy, but I had to fight with the people because I was helping a family member get off the big H. So I went to NA with him. Wow. See, they shouldn't like give us crap for that.
Congratulations.
They make you talk even if you're support. And I wanted to say 25 years, but wasn't sure because of medical. What? All right. Hippie's joining in.
Oh, hi. You're good. You're on the wrong side of the room.
That's okay.
Talking to the wall now. All right. Anyway, how are you? Happy Mother's Day to you both. Thank you for being here and putting on a wonderful show. I love your show. Let me try to explain that a little better. So my nephew was having issues with the big H, if you know what I mean. And so he needed help. And so I said, you know, I had my own issues when I was a child. I got off of the big C, we'll call it. But it wasn't the cane one. It was the crack one. I was hooked on that for quite some time, and I used marijuana to get off of it. I went to a rehab one time, and I did 14 days, and they kicked me out because my insurance wasn't covered. And they said, well, the best we can do is we'll give you 14 days for free because we fucked up, excuse my language. And they said, we'll give you 14 days for free, and then we'll see what we can do for you after that. And they did the 14 days, and I left, and I was back on it twice as bad in a week. And it ended up being a whole 10 or 11 years of my life where I was lost in a cloud of the wrong kind of smoke. That being said, my mom was going to pass away, and she had been diagnosed with cancer, and I think she was kind of given, I don't know if I ever told you this, Summer, but she was, we lived near a medical hospital in New York on Long Island. And they were my wife currently at that time was my girlfriend. She was working there for the president of the hospital. and they kind of gave her something under the table, and they said, "Here, take this to your boyfriend's mother and have her do it this way with this." And I really, to this day, now I look back on it, I think it was RSO that they were testing on her in the late 80s, early 90s. She died in 89. No, I'm sorry, 99. She died in 99. So
Yeah.
in 99, they were tested. I feel like they were tested. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is I went to the NA with my nephew, and you know how they make everybody stand up no matter what you're doing. You got to stand up and say you're there, and I'm an addict or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I had to stand up, and it was my first time doing it. I hadn't done it. You know, I never even did it because I quit on my own. I didn't go to NA. I didn't need that. I said, I'll do this. I can do this. I can do anything. I'll do it on my own. So now I'm there, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, I want to say I'm 25 years clean because I am, but I used marijuana to get off of my hi Crystal.
Right.
I used marijuana to get off of and it's now technically medicine here in my state. So I'm going to say that I'm still clean. And then they had like a big meeting, and they were like, you know, it was a big thing. Like they had to figure it out. Like, what is this guy talking about? It's medicine now. And how do we distinguish
this?
Is he clean or is he not clean? Right. You know, he's smoking marijuana, and that's bad. But no, we get it. You know, but it turned out that they were very cool. And I got my little keychain or whatever for 25 years clean. That was a couple years ago. So now we're going on close to 30. But yeah.
Oh yeah, congratulations.
To chime in on that. And I used it to clean up on other things as well. Like when I wanted to quit smoking cigarettes, I smoked a lot more weed. And I cut down every time I wanted a cigarette, I would smoke a joint. And then every time I wanted to vape, then I went to vaping, and then I was like, oh, well, vaping isn't any better. And now I want to quit vaping. So I went back to smoking more flower. And then I learned the pleasures and love of RSO.
Yeah, he has a love relationship with RSO.
It's a good one, I'm sure.
Love relationship with RSO. Yes, I love it very, very much. And yeah, so I'm clean on everything now. Going on, 2 years for the vaping, and everything else is 10 years plus. Cigarettes is 10 years, and like I said, the bad stuff for 20 plus 30 years. So,
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut into your conversation.
No, you're good. You're good.
Happy Mother's Day to you both, and let me get out of here, you guys.
Okay, all right.
Thanks.
Nice meeting you, Mom. Mimi.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
Nice meeting you. Thank you so much.
So I don't have the testing in front of me, but recently we did get some new testing back
On.
Marlboro cigarettes. And
She looks at me and says, but I haven't had one in 25 years.
She has not, and I haven't had cigarettes since 2018. But anyways, it failed miserably for cadmium. And so I was shocked because this now makes 100% of the products that we have tested in the tobacco industry that have failed for heavy metals or pesticides or both. So we've tested the Dutch brand cigars, the Honey Fusion and Berry Fusion. We tested the White Owl cigars, the white grape ones, and then we tested these Marlboro Blacks. And then we have those little vape boxes. Remember the little vape boxes I smoked? The nicotine ones?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So we have some of those in testing too right now.
Okay.
And there is a sponge inside of that device. And that has been sent out to OU Science Lab at the university to determine what that sponge is in there. And if it's safe to inhale, I guess is what I'm going to say. It feels so weird to say that way.
How else do you say this? If you want to do what the only thing that the good Lord made, that's marijuana. He didn't make the grain. He didn't make all of this stuff, that they blend all that other shit.
Right. Not even alcohol.
Nope. So
that's what-
this is
so
just a
maybe-
plant. It's
Right.
just a plant.
Yep.
It's just a plant.
Just a plant.
And in 1936, when it was criminalized and
Mhm.
taken away from, the only useful purpose at that time that it was being used for
Mhm.
was doctors were prescribing it for ladies' menstrual issues.
Really? Like a it's
Like
not
so that you wouldn't be
like a
batshit.
Midol.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a
Yeah, make you think straight, make you not, but yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, you're always really supportive, whenever I tell you what we have going on in testing and stuff like that. So I figure I share those with you. And then we've got some
Lord
other
knows they
stuff.
got enough of my money, didn't they?
We're going to put some other stuff through, I think, next week when we go back to the city. And this is going to be, we're going to be testing the backwoods products. So they're
Okay,
like wraps
okay.
and cigars and stuff.
Yeah.
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 It
That's
was
a
in
real
cough
popular one.
medicine then too. So Katie says that cannabis was in cough medicine back then too. I did not know that.
Wow.
So interesting for
Mhm.
sure. So
I would have been a cough syrup
suppository.
drinker.
Yep. You would have been what?
I would have been a cough syrup drinker.
You'd have been a cough syrup drinker. She'd have been on that cannelline.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. All about
Not
it.
just that lean, but that cannelline.
But just think about all of those generations that missed out on it.
Oh, I mean, and look at how much we actually had to fight to get the right for it to be our medicine again.
Right. Mhm.
That's a big deal too.
And there was a lot more states that were legal long before Oklahoma did. So I'm
Mhm.
really impressed. I'm grateful. Every day
Crystal
I'm grateful.
says people were mad when they found out their cannabis tincture had been banned.
Yep.
It was in every
Yeah,
household.
it was-
yes.
Yeah, it was actually prescribed by doctors.
Right. Not just a recommendation like what we got here in Oklahoma, but actually
A
prescribed.
prescription. Yeah, there was actually a time when they did prescriptions. And that's when
Right.
it became federally illegal.
Katrina, if you're asking if I can imagine my nanny stoned off her ass, I sure as hell can.
Oh, girl, I
I
would have
sure
used
as
it in a
hell
heartbeat.
can. We'd have dosed nanny all day.
My
All
mother would not have
day.
suffered a single day.
No.
She would have been stoned off her ass.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, my nanny had multiple forms of cancer several different times, and at the end when they put her on hospice, most people on hospice are anticipated about a 6-month lifespan
She did
from
3
there.
years.
3 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, 3 years
Yeah.
before she gave up the ghost. And like Mom was saying earlier, legal cannabis
They
was not an
didn't
option
realize
yet.
marijuana
Oops,
was their
hang on.
cannabis.
Hang on, Mom, I actually touched my screen.
I did.
There we
Oh,
go.
Sorry, folks.
They didn't realize
Marijuana was their cannabis.
Gotcha. Makes
Because
sense.
back then, by the time that it was criminalized, then it was considered what, loco weed?
I don't know.
Something like that.
I wasn't there.
Neither was I, but Grandma was.
Grandma was.
Grandma was.
She probably has some of that loco weed. I ain't
Yeah.
gonna lie. Back when she was younger, my grandma was a hell raiser and she was hot as hell.
She was a wild one.
She was a wild one. I don't
She
know
was
where
a
I get
wild
that shit from. So,
Mm.
when I was talking about Cowboy Cup earlier, I kind of was leading into something there. So I got a lot of shit last week online about calling out one of the cannabis industry's events. And I called it out for a untested, unregulated, not made in a licensed kitchen product being sold at an event. And
That's illegal.
it is illegal. And here's the deal, though. I'm not the first person to call out events in the Oklahoma industry, guys. I have been a part of this community for about 5 years now. And
Just do better, guys. Just do better.
every single year after every event, somebody goes online and drags that event or exposes what happened at that event or whatever. Okay. So I was not trying to necessarily create controversy, but just more so awareness that if we continue to allow things like that to go on at our events, that's exactly why legislators are trying to take our events from us. Last year, we fought that in legislation. Luckily, this year was not an issue. It does not mean that it won't be an issue next year, So I've been called a snitch this week, a bitch. I'm bad for the canna community in my state, things like that. And, I got really thick skin. So you can say everything your Karen heart needs to say. It's okay. But when it comes down to it, it's about patient safety. People were talking about the example that I used online, which it was an RSO Kool-Aid sugar packet. And my example was that, what if a mom or dad took home this packet, they mixed up the Kool-Aid and they put it in their fridge. And the next morning, a kid grabs a hold of the Kool-Aid jug and goes to pour out a cup of Kool-Aid that they don't know is mom or dad's special Kool-Aid. So there wasn't a way for it to be a safe situation in that way. And they were like, oh, well, if that's all you're worried about is that you're not worried about the right reasons. And I'm like, the right reason is patient safety. It's untested.
But 89% of that has to happen right there with the patient themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It is personal responsibility. Again, I have smoked for 45 years. Did you ever find my weed?
Not that I can remember. Not that I really looked for your weed, though, either. True. To be honest, I was too scared you'd whip my ass.
But hey, there's nothing wrong with whipping your kids' butt. Old-fashioned values are good.
Right.
But I'm just saying, you didn't hear about. Everybody smoked weed that I knew,
mm-hmm.
but you didn't hear about. Oh, this kid got into this, or this kid took this to school, and we made brownies. We cooked with it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You just didn't put it around where the kids could get a hold of it. Come on, folks, be responsible.
Right.
Be responsible. It is your job. It is your medication. If you would not put it down in front of your child, if it was an opioid or mushrooms or whatever it is that you take, if you would not put that in front of your child, then don't put your cannabis in front of your child. Don't sit and smoke weed with your kid. Don't teach your kid how to smoke weed. If that child needs cannabis for a reason in their life, then you can help them then. But it is not cool to do things that aren't right.
Yes, it is not cool. And as far as like selling stuff at events, you guys know you're not supposed to do that in the first place. So just don't do it.
Just be cool.
That way we don't have to deal with that issue. It's one of the things that several people have called out other events for in the past. And so, obviously it's a cycle that keeps repeating itself, and I want to still be able to go to a campus event, but heck, man, at this point, I think they're going to be like, no, heck, there's that Patients for Safe Access lady.
Well,
I don't give a shit.
I'm proud of the lady from Patients for Safe Access, because what she's doing is making for sure that other folks don't experience what she did.
Yes.
They aren't falling out of the car, passing out because of the pesticides that they had smoked in their cannabis, which as a mom, that's a scary thing to hear, that your kid was at her job and they opened the car door to get out of there to go into a restaurant and she passed out literally. Had someone not been with her, she would have been exposed to the elements and anybody else that might have found her. So, and that's not safe nor good. She was in a 2 hours away from home. So when you think about, no, she's not snitching on folks. She's legitimately putting that product in for good testing to find out whether or not it's safe for us to consume in an industry that we're not always told the truth about.
Amen to that one. Man, I don't know if I can end that any better, Mom. I'm serious.
Happy Mother's Day, folks.
Right? Charlie says, we never had these problems with our marijuana until corporate America got involved in our medical program. And that is so very true, too. The people that wanted to do things right and were doing things right, a lot of them have been phased out of our industry already in the state of Oklahoma. We've had a license reduction in our state by probably about 75% in totality. And that's hard on the mom and pop businesses in our state. We are not out here to cause problems for those people either. And as long as you're not putting bullshit on the market, we're not a problem for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, as long as you're not negating the rules and regs to put out a harmful product or a product that, isn't safe or accurate compared to what you say it is, then we're not a problem. You know what I mean? My group is not a problem because we got about 50 of us that all over the state
Cannabis is used in the right form as a safe product that does not have, horrible side effects. There's so many things that's good about it. If you consume it and you have not consumed it recently or or very much, be mindful of how much you use and take, because it can be overwhelming. I've smoked 45 years. I like my small product that I use, but I also am smart enough to know, girl, I cannot handle that dabbing shit.
She can't hang on me.
No, I cannot. It spins my head, make me throw up like being drunk. It's just, it has its place.
Yeah.
Everything has its place. You wouldn't take a Tylenol for something that you needed, heavier medicine for. So don't go to the high end of the spectrum just because you're feeling like you got your big girl panties on.
Start slow, guys.
Yep.
Start slow and grow. Start slow and grow.
That's right.
Yeah.
And use good, clean plant medicine.
Yes.
Don't just jump out there to something that you think, oh, my buddy made this. Well, did your buddy have his stuff tested?
Right.
So
absolutely. And one of the things that we're fortunate about in the state of Oklahoma is that the labs are able to test for our patients for their homegrown medicine as well.
Yes.
So that they can, know that the nutrients and things like that they're using are safe in that product. So that's really cool too.
I know it sounds stupid, but instead of pesticides, ladybugs and praying mantis are wonderful.
Ronnie just hatched out like 2,000 praying mantis this week, so I can't wait to go back to his house and see all the little baby praying mantis in the living soil.
There you go.
Yeah,
my neighbors will love it all.
Yeah. All right, guys. So happy Mother's Day from these two Canna-Grandmas. So we will catch you guys next week. We're going to have Jamie Bennett on next week, and she is going to be talking about Operation Zero and the Cancer Playbook in Oklahoma. And these are two really great programs that help people get access to like RSO and things like that at a penny. She's been known in the Oklahoma community in the past as RSO Mama. So super excited to get to talk with her. So join us next week for that show, and we are out of here.
Peace out.
One love.
Stepping up strong with a righteous plea. Summer Parker fighting for you and me. Patients need what the doctor has said. Safe access now to the meds they bred. One love, one bite, don't you delay. Rights for the people in every way. We stand tall, we won't back down. Safe access is the anthem sound. Safe access is the anthem sound. The struggle is real, so is the fire for health and hope. We climb higher, stand with the ones who can't stand alone. For every voice deserves a throne.